Hello everyone, we're back with another installment of Rational Numbers. This is going to be now proceeding with the concept of operations in rational numbers. So if you recall on natural numbers and whole numbers and integers, we had 4 operations. We had addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And we're going to do the same thing with rational numbers. We're going to do the 4 operations. But we're going to do them out of order a little bit because multiplication turns out to be actually the easiest thing to do with rational numbers. The other operations have a little complication that we will have to work through. So we're going to start with multiplication. And for multiplication, we're going to use the area model as we have been using in this course to model multiplication so that we can understand what it means. So let's take an example, a simple example. We're going to take fraction 2/3 and we're going to multiply it by 1/4. And so in the area model, which you're familiar with already, what we're going to do is make a 1 by 1 square. So this is a QB, 2D QB, I guess. Greatly magnified. It's just big so that we can see what's going on here. Kind of don't like that side here, so I'm going to just erase that. Here we go. And I'm going to draw it a little better. Okay, so this is our QB. And to represent 2/3, I'm going to chop the left side of it into thirds, 3 equal pieces. And 2/3 is going to be this much. So there is 2/3. And to do 1/4, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to chop the top edge into 4 pieces, 4 equal pieces, and here is 1/4. So the product of those two is represented by this area here. And maybe I'll shade that. So shade it there. So this shaded area is our product, 2/3 times 1/4. Now how big is that area? Well, to figure out how big it is, I'm going to complete the whole square. So I'm just going to divide the whole square up into its grid pieces here. How many pieces are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 pieces altogether. How many have I shaded? I've shaded 1, 2. So that is the fraction 2/3 times 1/4. 2/3 times 1/4 is 2/12. So we can see that very clearly from the area model picture. Now, we don't want to have to draw a picture like this every time we multiply fractions. So let's try to figure out how we can do this. A little more rapidly. How many of these rectangular regions are there? We counted 12, but it's easy to see that there's 12 of them because I divided the left side into thirds and the top into quarters. So there's 3 pieces in this side and 4 pieces on this side. And altogether there's 12 on the interior. So that is pretty easy calculation. So that's how we get the 12. Now how do we get the 2? Well, on this fraction we only had 2 pieces here. In this fraction we had 1. So 1 times 2, or sorry, I should say 2 times 1. We're going from left to right. 2 times 1 is 2. So that gives us this number. Right, so that gives us a symbolic way of doing the multiplication of fractions. 2/3 times 1/4 is, I multiply the numerators and I multiply the denominators. And so you should practice this with a few other fractions and see that the area model always gives us the same result as multiplying the numerators and multiplying the denominators. So that is the multiplication of fractions. It's actually pretty simple. It only took us a few minutes. Now there's one other step that we've got. So let's go through this again in detail. 2/3 times 1/4 is equal to 2 times 1, multiply the numerators, 3 times 4, multiply the denominators. I get 2/12. And those of you who have watched the last lecture will know that this is not in lowest terms. So to give a final answer to this multiplication problem, I need to put it into lowest terms. But fortunately, that's very easy. We know how to do that. Let's use the Euclidean algorithm division version. So this will be 2. Easy. So I now divide by 2. And I'm going to get 1/6. That is a correct final answer to this fraction multiplication problem, 1/6. So there's really 2 steps. There's the multiplication, then there's the least terms. All right, so that is really quite simple. Now you may have learned some shortcuts in grade school. It's okay if you use those shortcuts. I am not going to talk about them because I just want to give you one way that works, and you can figure out others if you wish. So I'm just going to give you the single way that you can always solve this problem. First, you multiply across the numerators and denominators, and then you put it in the least terms using the greatest common divisor method. All right, so that is it for multiplication of fractions. We will turn next to addition and subtraction.